Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my 2017 makeup favorites. Now this year I've decided to do mine a little bit differently. I'm not going to split the video up into Drugstore and Highend. I'm just going to include it all in one video because I did have a lot of products last year, and while I really love those, I decided that I really want to narrow it down this year and really pick out products that I use for like the entire year, not products that I just use maybe for like, you know, the first couple of months and then I forgot about. Products that I've literally used the whole year. There's a couple of these that is some late additions that did release later in the year, but I have used them every day since, and I still continue to use them in 2018. So some of these also are repeat products from my 2016 yearly favorites, but I didn't want to, you know, like put a product in here that I had, you know, I loved, but I didn't like love it as much as these other products that I'm going to mention. So there is some repeat products. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and I'm actually going to start out with primer. So I actually have two primers, and I want to mention both of them. It's the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer in Light and the Stila One Step Correcting Primer. You can probably tell by the Stila one I'm almost completely out. Same thing with this one. I go through so many of both of these. I really like them. What I like most about the Stila one is I feel like it kind of brightens up my complexion. It just creates a really nice, smooth kind of base for my foundation to go over top of, but it also still, I feel like, helps with the oiliness of my skin. The Smashbox one I like, but it doesn't give like that brightening effect, but this is like my go-to whether my skin's like a little bit more on the normal side or more on the oily side. I just really like both of these. If I had to pick one, I feel like I'd lean towards the Stila one because my skin definitely isn't as oily this time of the year, so I feel like I've been reaching for this one more in like November, December, and even now into January. But this one I've currently been using more, but I've really used both of these throughout the entire year. Now I am going to mention just one more primer, but this one I actually use for like a little bit of a different reason. This is the Dr. Brandt Pores No More Pore Refining Primer, and I actually use this to put right here in these smile lines. I think it does a really good job because it kind of fills that area in and keeps any foundation I have from kind of like sinking into those lines. Especially if I have a more matte foundation, it can kind of, when it, you know, dries and sets matte, it can really sink in around there, whereas I found going in with this like pore filling primer right in this area has really helped. I don't really use this anywhere else on my face. Occasionally, if like I said, I'm in a hurry and I'm putting this here, I'll go ahead and put it like in my T-zone. But I really like this just for filling in this area. I've tried a lot of like pore filling primers. Some of them are too greasy. This one I find isn't too greasy, and I really like it, and I think it does an amazing job at really working well with foundations and keeping them from sinking into my lines. Now for foundation, I managed to narrow it down to 3 because I had several, but again, I wanted to talk about ones that I just felt like I used more than any of the others. So I'm going to start out with the Drugstore first, and this is by Wet n Wild. This is the Photo Focus Foundation. I feel like if I could pick one brand, Drugstore brand, for like the best drugstore makeup brand of the year, I definitely would say it was Wet n Wild. They come out with so many amazing products, and they come out with some products here towards the end of 2017, and I'm really excited to try those. If you guys want to see a video on that, let me know, because I did place a really large order on their website, and I've got a ton of their new products, so I'm looking forward to trying them out. But yeah, this is a Photo Focus Foundation. I have the shade Light Warm and Light Neutral. Believe it or not, I actually like Light Warms a little bit better because I find that Light Neutral can lean a little bit more, in my personal opinion, on like the rosy kind of like pink side, whereas I mean Light Warm does lean more on like the warm yellowy side, but I just feel like this looks a little bit too pink. But sometimes I'll mix these two and I think they work great. But what I like about this is that it lasts a really long time on my skin, and I do have oily skin. I also like how they did test this under like different light conditions, so it's great for photography. It's an affordable foundation, and this is one of those that like I found myself reaching for this foundation a lot more than a lot of my other high-end foundations. That's why I decided to mention this. The only thing is I definitely wish that the coverage was just a little bit better, because I feel like it's more of like medium. You can kind of build it up to not full coverage, but I feel like you can get pretty nice coverage from this if you don't care to build it up. But I actually want to try this with that Urban Decay Velvetizer. You guys have probably already seen this video, but I tried this with the Giorgio Armani one, and I really want to try this one out with that to see if it kind of helps add coverage, because that's what that velvetizer is supposed to do. Alright, so the next one is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Performance Wear Liquid Foundation. As you guys can tell just by looking at my pump, I use this one all the time, and I'm almost completely out. I don't know if, yeah, see, I'm like pushing the product down the sides. That's what I've been doing the last few days. But I really like this. A lot of people tried it out and didn't like it because they said it was so extremely matte. And yes, it is a very matte foundation, but for me, again, I had oily skin. This works great. I mean, like, if I know I'm going to Silk's class on Sundays, I reach for this foundation. If I know I'm going to have to work a long day and it's hot outside, I reach for this foundation. I definitely have been reaching for my Laura Mercier A1 a little bit more since the weather is kind of cold. But this, I love it. I mix this with so many foundations and I really, really like it. I definitely feel if you have oily skin, you should give it a try. And then the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation. If I could pick between all the foundations I tried this year, this would probably be my #1 just because I love the finish that it gives your skin. I think it makes it look so airbrushed, just so incredibly flawless. Like, no matter how many breakouts I have, this foundation always works for me. I recently had a bad reaction to the YSL foundation, and this was what I used until my face kind of started clearing up, because this just, I mean, this conceals everything. I definitely would consider this full coverage. I like it. I definitely feel like it does look pretty matte. So again, if you're someone who has more dry skin, maybe try like mixing another foundation in with this. But it has amazing coverage. I love the color selection. I'm in the shade 2 in 1, and it matches me almost perfectly. But I love this product. Alright, now on to concealer. So I actually had 3 concealers. 2 I actually used underneath my eyes, and then 1 I actually used to spot conceal. So the 2 I have for underneath my eyes are actually both Drugstore. This is the Catrice Waterproof Liquid Camouflage High Colors Concealer. You guys can see again, I am like running out of this. I really like this more towards the beginning of the year because if you guys don't know, I got on birth control and then my under eye area got really dry, and when I got off of it, it got even worse. And this can be a little bit, I feel like, dry underneath the eyes. So I have been mixing it in with the Wet n Wild one, and I feel like doing that together really helps. But I love the Wet n Wild one on its own. This is the Photo Focus Concealer. I really like that whole Photo Focus line. But this is a light coverage concealer. I'd say this is more like medium coverage. You can kind of build this up, but I would definitely say this is more medium, and this is definitely light coverage. But what I like is I've actually been dragging my foundation underneath my eyes and covering like my eyelids as well to kind of help with any discoloration. And then going in with a more lightweight concealer like this one, and that definitely helps my under eye area not look so dry, not look so heavy, and not look so cakey. I really like both of these. If I had to choose one, I like the Wet n Wild one, but I think if you want something more full coverage, I definitely would recommend the Catrice one. But both of these are really long wearing. Alright, so now to conceal like blemishes. This is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in Vanilla. I have I don't know, I can't love this concealer underneath my eyes like everybody else does. Even when my under eye area got really dry, I liked it. I really did. But no matter what mascara I wore on my lower lash lines, and I always wear waterproof mascara on my lower lashes, this just, I got that like black ring. There's like something in this that for some reason, no matter what mascara I have tried them all, this just causes that mascara to like smudge underneath here. So I actually started using this to cover my blemishes, and I like it because this is in shade Light 2 Vanilla, because the undertone to this I feel like is really nice. It covers the blemishes really well without, I feel like, looking heavy or looking like too much in that area. But I actually love this to conceal blemishes. So I would highly recommend it for that if maybe you have it and you don't like it underneath your eyes. Alright, now to set underneath my eyes. So I actually have a palette that okay, we'll just do the loose setting powders first. So I actually have 3, and this was really hard because I really fell in love with a lot of under eye setting powders this year, but again, more towards when my under eye area started getting dry, I really found the ones that I really loved. So I loved the Laura Mercier A1. I think everyone does. It's great, it looks flawless, but that is very, very mattifying and very drying, and I just could not use that underneath my eyes anymore. So if you're someone who has trouble with that, I definitely recommend the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. I really, really love this. It's very smooth. It's not too heavy underneath the eyes, and it just, like, out of all of these, this one is definitely my favorite for this year, my favorite discovery. I love how flawless it looks underneath the eyes. I can't bake with a lot of powders now because I feel like, again, that just, I don't know, that makes my under eye area looks very dry, but this is one that I can bake with. I just think that it sets that area and looks so incredibly smooth. Alright, then this one is the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Poreless Finish HD Micro Powder. So this is actually, I think, a powder to put on your face for like the pores, but I actually like this setting underneath my eyes. So this does, I don't know if you guys can tell, have a little bit of like a banana kind of tint to it. So I find that when I set my under eyes with this, that it really like brightens that area. But not only that, is it looks so smooth. but I do find that this can be a little bit more drying underneath the eyes than the Cover FX one, so I do reach for the Cover FX one more. But this one I really like putting right in here where I get like darkness. This, I'll take a brush, I'll kind of just like pack that right there, and I feel like it kind of brightens up that area right there where it doesn't look so dark. But this definitely was one of my favorites for the year. Alright, so this next one, this is a Too Faced Peach Perfect Mattifying Loose Setting Powder. So they come out with two. I think they come out with like a pressed version and then this loose version. First off, you get a ton of product and the packaging is absolutely huge. This is it compared to that It Cosmetics powder. But I really like this if you want a more mattifying powder. So this I actually like to set my entire face with, but I also like to set underneath in my eyes with it. But I do like it for setting my face best because I like how it gives you more of a like a matte finish, but it's not like one of those matte finishes that like it doesn't look like you have powder on your skin. You know, like you get like a powder that's mattifying and you'll put it on and yes, it mattifies your skin, but it's like you look like you have powder on. It's like you can't see like your nice like foundation underneath. This isn't like that. This keeps it nice and matte but gives it more of like a, I don't know, like airbrush finish. I really, really like this. This is definitely one of my favorite products from that Sweet Peach launch that they did with the palette and everything. Definitely one of my favorites. Alright, now actual face powders to set your face with. So this was, I had two that I kind of wanted to mention, but I decided since I had only really discovered the other one kind of more in like October, I decided not to mention that one. So I decided to mention the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Pressed Powder as the shade Warm Light. This again is from that Photo Focus line, like I'm telling you. Wet n Wild had so many amazing products this year. Alright, so when I first got this, I'll tell you the reason mine looks wonky. When I first got this, I hated it because like there was like no color payoff from this or anything. So I took an actual like tweezers and I scraped across here and like took that first layer off, and then I put my brush in there and I got so much more pigmentation. I'm going to kind of show you guys. So staying around here at the edge, let's see, the edge here where I haven't like taken my fingernail file. I don't know if you guys can see, but there is like hardly any product. But then right here in the middle where I've scraped that off, there is like a ton more product. So if you have tried this out and you don't like it, definitely try the scraping technique because I feel like it adds a really nice coverage to set your foundation with. And it's one of those powders that remind me of like the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish because it looks like skin. It's not super mattifying, but it just sets your foundation really nicely while adding some coverage. I definitely, again, feel like this was my favorite powder of the year, and I continue to use this into 2018. It really is amazing, and again, it's super affordable. Alright. So contouring and bronzing. I'll start out with bronzer. I really only had one bronzer that I felt like I just kept going back to. Oh, excuse me. That I kept going back to. This is the Sephora Bronzing Face Powder in the shade Los Cabos. And I'm not sure if they still carry this because I'm pretty sure I've seen that these were on like their sale page. I'm not sure if they're like on clearance or if they're just, you know, on sale. But I really like this because even though it's a matte bronzer, it's got more of like, it's not like a glow, but it's got like a, it's not super matte looking, so it looks very natural. I like the undertone because it's not super like warm, but then it's not like you know, a cool tone. It's like right there where it's quite neutral, if you guys can see. But this one's perfect for me. I definitely could go up a darker shade if I didn't want to have to dip back into this one so often because I do have to build it up. I think the next shade up is Fiji, but I think that one might have shimmer in it because I did have that one before. But I do like this shade better. I think it's really pretty. I think the formula to this bronzer is really nice. It's actually the bronzer that I have on today, and I just really, really like it. Alright, now for contour. So this is that palette I was talking to you guys about that I have a like under eye setting product in here as well. So this is the Lorac Pro Contour Kit. I love this. Ulta always has this. I think I've seen this like 2 or 3 times this year for 40% off. And I love this. I do wish Lorac would sell these individually though, because the shades that I really use are more like these 3 shades. If I'm like going on an overnight trip and I don't want to take a lot of stuff to travel, I do use this right here as a bronzer because it is a matte shade. It's the medium contour shade. But this light contour shade is like perfect for my light skin tone because even though it's like more neutral, it's more like a neutral cool, but it's not like super ashy looking where it looks like you've rubbed dirt on your face. It's just perfect. This is so gorgeous as well. It does have a slight like banana tint, but very, very slight. Whereas this one I can use more in the summertime. But this one right here I think is perfect for year round because I was always on the hunt for a really good like banana powder that didn't actually look yellow underneath there, but actually brightened. And this is definitely it. That is the shade Beige Highlight, but I love it. I love this palette. Lorac again was just an amazing brand for me this year. They just had a lot of great finds. Alright, so I'll go ahead and I'll actually start out with eyeshadow, like eyes in general. So I'm going to start out with a primer. This is the NYX Glitter Primer. I love this stuff. This is great if you have hooded eyes, whether you're using glitter or you're not using glitter. I like to use this with my lid shades, like my shimmer shades and stuff like that. I will put this down because that really keeps like this lid shade like I'm wearing today from transferring way up here. This is a must for me. It was really a product that stood out to me this year, and I would highly recommend it. Alright, so I do have 3 eyeshadow palettes, but I do have an actual like liquid eyeshadow. So this is the Stila Magnificent Metals Glitter and Glow Liquid Eyeshadows. I love these. This was my favorite color, is Kitten Karma, but I love these in general. I just didn't want to go through every single shade. I love this one. I love Smoldering Satin. I love Rose Gold Retro. I actually have, yeah, you guys can't see it, but I actually got a little kit that had some of the shimmer and glows in them, and I love those as well. But these are so amazing. If I want something glittery, I want something intense, something for a night out, these I gravitate towards so incredibly often. I probably use these, I feel like, a lot more than I should. Like, even if I'm going out for like a long day of shopping and I feel like being extra, I always gravitate towards these because they're just so beautiful. They're so easy to work with, and they're really nice and long wearing. As long as you, again, you want to wear like a glitter primer underneath these, because I feel like if you don't throughout the day, the glitter can fall down on your face. So alright, so I actually have one palette that eyeshadow palette that I feel like just, it stood out to me besides these other two, but I wanted to kind of give like an honorable mention to 2 other ones. So the first one is the Lorac Pro Mega 3 palette. So I love this palette. I actually used it today. And I mean, for me, this is perfect. I feel like a lot of people might not like this because it's kind of toned down. You don't have like a lot of pops of color. I mean, you got a couple here, like this pink right here, and these like the blues up above it. But overall, it is a pretty toned down palette. But I love that because it's like I got my more like mauvey purple tones I can use. I've got more of my neutrals. I've got more of like my deeper crease shades. Then I've got tons of colors. Like I said, I can use as transition shades. I've got tons of like bronzy, golds, like peachy, rust, rosy colors I can use all over my lids. And these are like eyeshadows, colors that I gravitate towards. So this was again why this stood out to me. But I use this palette with everything. I've been using this with the Too Faced Chocolate Gold Bar palette. I've been using it with this little Tarte palette. This, like I said, I used this today in my crease and stuff. And then I used this Tarte palette, foil finger palette, and I used the shade Gold Coast, which is that first shade right there. I'm kind of on the fence about this palette. If you guys want to see like a review, or if you want to just know about it, I can probably mention it in like my favorites or unfavorites videos at the end of this month. But if you guys don't get your hands on it, I would recommend it. I have the Mega Pro 4 right there, and I didn't love it like I love this one. So if you can still get your hands on it, I definitely get this one. I feel like the quality of the Mega Pro 4 wasn't as good as the quality of this one. So alright, now the 2 honorable mentions. So the first is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. I love this palette. If you're someone who doesn't like a palette that's completely matte, I get how you wouldn't like this. But I reach for this palette anytime I'm like, alright, I want to do a very like warm look or a very peachy look. But I also like this because I've been loving taking this color right here, which, yeah, you guys can see how much I dipped into that one, and putting this all over the lid, and then using these shades more in this area to kind of like blend it out and do like a really nice smoky eye. It doesn't look like you got punched in the eye or anything, but I just love it. But this palette, what also stands out to me is sometimes I'll kind of like be working on my eyeshadow and I'll be like, you know, I really need to add a little bit of warmth to my eyeshadow. And I will come in, I'll grab the shade right here, Just Peachy or Peach Tea. They're definitely like my 2 favorite in here. I love this. It's so versatile. It smells really good. And if you're someone who loves matte eyeshadows and you love the like peachy tones, I definitely would recommend picking this up. Alright, then lastly, this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette. I love this palette. I use this palette with that Lorac palette sometimes. I can use this palette on its own. The only shade I don't love in here is Lucid, but all the other shades I absolutely love, as you guys can probably tell. But I love this. I have the Subculture palette here as well that I haven't tried out yet. I also have the Modern Renaissance palette, which I haven't tried out yet, but I want to do a look with the Modern Renaissance one. But yeah, I love this. I love how easy these blend. Yes, there's some fallout from these shadows, but I feel like there's just as much from like my Lorac palettes and stuff like that. But I love this. I love the color selection. I can do a very like toned down look. I can do a very intense look, a bold look, pops of color with this palette. Highly, highly recommend it. I think it is still available, so I would definitely recommend picking it up. Alright, so let me just go ahead and get actual highlighters out of the way. So I narrowed it down to 2 highlighters, which I feel like that's pretty good. So the first one is from Tarte, and this is the shade Stunner. So this is such a gorgeous highlight because it's like a nude, it's got like a nude undertone. So I feel like it looks good with like bold looks, everyday looks, pink looks, purple looks, blue looks. It just looks good with everything. It does have a little more of that like thicker texture, so I find that it doesn't like enhance you know, like acne or anything as much as if you got a very like, you know how like we got some highlighters that really like make your acne and texture look like bam in your face, but those thicker creamy ones I feel like kind of set on top of the skin and don't really sink in around that acne. This is a great one. I really like it. This one by far, well, I don't want to say it was my most used because this next one I'm about to mention was pretty close, but I love it. I love the color. I love the formula. Alright, so the Lorac, this was the Pirates of the Caribbean collection. I can't think of the name of this palette. It just says Lorac Pirates of the Caribbean. But this little palette I was obsessed with. I took this everywhere with me. So you get 4 highlighters and 2 blushes. I actually really love the 2 blushes in here as well. I definitely don't feel like this is going to work for more like deeper skin tones though, because, well, the blushes won't anyways, because this one is actually super, I wouldn't say super light on me, but it looks more of like a flush of color. Again, I really like it. And I do have to build Lost Soul up. But my favorite highlighter here is Destined, but I like mixing it with Star Reader. These two and the formula is so amazing. It looks gorgeous. It's one of those beaming highlights. If you can still get your hands on this palette, I definitely would recommend picking it up. And then the shade Bold Spirit. This is really gorgeous. Of course, it's too deep for me, but it's really, really pretty. And I just overall like the formula and the colors in this palette. Alright. Now since we did highlighters, let's just go ahead and kind of get blushes out of the way. So I have 3 blushes. Well, 3 formulas of blushes, because I did like several colors this year, but I didn't want to pull them all out. So the Physicians Formula Butter blushes, this one's in the shade Plum Rose. It just looks like this. I really, really like these. The only downfall of these is they don't last the longest on the skin, so I gravitate towards these if I'm just going like out for a couple hours to get groceries, going to get lunch with somebody. But like they're so smooth that they look like butter on your skin. Like I get why they're called butter blushes, but I do wish that they last a little bit longer. But what I'll do is I'll put this on and then I'll go in with a more like long wearing blush over top of it, just to, you know, something that lasts you a little bit longer. But the formula to these are so smooth and just, again, so buttery. They're so beautiful. Definitely my favorite blush from the drugstore. Now, high-end blushes that like really caught my eye again this year, like I know they've been out for forever, is the Tarte blushes. So I actually have 2. This is the Dazzled, the shade Dazzled, and I like this. I really gear towards this more when I feel like my skin is like a little bit more tan, or in the fall time, because I feel like I do a lot more green looks, and this looks really good with like green eyeshadow. They just really complement each other. I just love this one. But my absolute favorite, I feel like, blush this year was definitely from my like Sephora birthday gift. This is the shade Partay, and it is so pretty because it's like a nude, but like a, I'm sorry, it's like a nude, but it's like a peachy nude. So it looks like so natural on my skin, but it's not super peachy. It's just, I don't know, it's like if I could find my perfect blush, it'd be between this one and the Clinique Cheek Pop in Nude Pop. And actually, if I could like mix these 2 together, that would be like my perfect blush. I just love it because I'm not a super big blush person. I'm definitely trying to like get more into blushes, but I like more of like a really bronzy look. But all right, we have just a couple more things. All right, so I do want to talk, oh, I forgot a highlighter. I actually do have a highlighter from the drugstore I want to mention. The Makeup Revolution highlighters. This one's the shade Liquid Starlight. They were amazing. I like these. I don't want to go into too in-depth about these, but if you want to see all the colors, see them swatched, that video I will link down below. But I do really love these. I love the formula, and they're like a blinding highlight though. Okay guys, so I have no idea where my camera stopped. I just looked over in the time and stopped running, so I think I was at eyeliner. So eyeliner, Essence Long Lasting Eye Pencil in the shade Hot Chocolate. I love this. It lasts all day on me. I like because you can smudge it, and once you set it with the powder, it stays all day. You do have to do a couple of strokes, I feel like, to get like full pigmentation, but it's very easy. It doesn't tug on your eyes, and I really, really like it. I have 2 brow products, but one stood out to me a lot more than most this year. This is the Benefit Brow. I'm obsessed with this. I've been someone who really always stayed with Anastasia or Anastasia, however you want to pronounce it. And her products I love. I do still love them, but like her pomade, it's super creamy. I feel like it's very easy to go overboard to make like really bold brows. This I feel like is a little more beginner friendly because it's not as creamy. It's a lot easier to make those like brow like strokes. I mean, I feel like I go back and forth. Like I like pencils, but it's like I always come back to this pomade because sometimes I feel like pencils can kind of like you know what I'm saying, gather product and like look kind of like chunky, if that makes any sense. And I like that, like pomades don't do that. Next is the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer. I really like this. I didn't think I was going to like it because of the packaging. The like little, if you guys can see, it's got like a little scoop right there, and I thought this would hold a lot of product and then distribute it unevenly, but actually this like little small tip right here with these spikes makes it really easy to get in the front of your brows. It adds like a lot more volume, makes them look, you know, a lot, I don't want to say bushier, but it does. It gives it like a more like feathered like appearance. Alright, mascara. So the first one that I want to mention is the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara, and I really like this mascara. I like it only though for my like lower lash line right here, or my lower lashes, because I feel like this is so lengthening. It's like almost too lengthening for someone like me, because I have very like spidery lashes, so I like something very volumizing. So if I go in with something on my top lashes like this, it's very lengthening, I feel like it makes it look like even worse, because it is a little more of a wetter formula. If you're looking for a great mascara on your lower lash line, or your lower lashes, I definitely recommend this. Alright, so the other mascara I don't have with me to like tell you guys about, but it's just a Stila, I don't know what it is, Stay All Day or something like that. The big old, you know, huge extreme lash mascara. I love that. I just don't have the tube of it with me. It's just by far my favorite mascara of all time. I think I mentioned it last year, but I did just want to let you guys know. Alright, so lipsticks. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and mention the liquid lipsticks. Now, I decided to pick mine out based on formula. These colors that I'm going to mention, I love them, but I've used so many colors this year that if I sit here and mentioned every single shade that was my favorite, we'd be here all day. So first is the NYX Liquid Suede. I still love these. A lot of people don't like these. They think they're a little bit liquidy. They are, but I like that these don't sink into my fine lines as much. They look a little bit, they make my lips look not so dead. You know, you can ever get like liquid lipsticks and it can kind of look like they've sucked the life out of your lips. These don't do that, and that's why I like it. And then these Stila Stay All Day, these will always be my favorites, because these really are my favorite formula of liquid lipsticks because of the lasting power. If you find these to be a little bit dry, go in with the lip balm underneath and these are fine. And then the Too Faced Melted Mattes, I love these. This one is in the shade Gingerbread. Man, it's got little gingerbreads on it. By far one of my favorite colors from this entire collection. I would definitely highly recommend, if you guys can still get your hands on that color, to pick it up because it was limited edition. Alright, two traditional lipsticks. The first one is by Maybelline, and this is in the shade Truffle Tease. This is by the Bust line, I believe, though, and I love the entire line. If you guys remember when I first got, like, I got several of these several years ago. I did a haul. I was like, oh my gosh, I am never going to use that, like, camel color again. But this, believe it or not, I use this more than the other ones. I love the shade Nude Lust. Oh, there's two others, but I really like this entire line because they're not matte, so it gives you more of like that shiny, kind of like juicy appearance on your lips. I really hope traditional lipsticks make a comeback this year, because I think I like those better than liquid lipsticks. And then I do have a matte, like traditional lipstick, but it's matte. This is the Too Faced line. This is in the shade Sunday Fun Day. This has like little peaches on it. It's really cute. Sorry. But I love this. I think it's incredibly gorgeous, and it almost gives you like, like it feels like that, like a powder on your lips, but you still get tons of pigmentation and it looks so incredibly nice. And if you like, you know, it's easy to reapply these too. So if you like a matte finish, but not like, you know what I'm saying, like liquid lipstick matte, then definitely check out those by Too Faced. Alright, lastly, this is the Cocoa Care Cocoa Butter Lip Balm. So I like this for several reasons. You can get this at CVS, that's where I got mine, or on Amazon, that's where I've reordered them. Like a lot of lip balms, I feel like I'll put them on at night. When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like they're still like on my lips. I don't feel like my lips feel any different. When I wear this, when I wake up the next morning, not only do my lips, I feel like look plumper and more like a moisturized, but it's still actually on my lips. I really like this. I've never heard anyone talk about this brand or anything like that, so that's why I wanted to mention it, because I think it is an amazing product. So, alright guys, that is it. That is all of my 2017 beauty favorites. I know this video is super long, just looking over here at the time, but I do apologize. I tried to get through everything really fast, but if you guys would like to see any of those like videos I mentioned a Wet n Wild one at the beginning, just let me know, because I have a ton of those, so maybe I can do like a drugstore haul for you guys. So yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching.